I'm live and my camera doesn't want to cooperate. There we go. Hi, everybody. I want to thank everyone who's been logging in, watching the videos, and please leave comments. I would love that. I'm on vacation right now, so I'm not in my little home studio, but this is also not a standard Education Unveiled video. What I really like to do is just react to some of the things that are happening on Twitter today in, in the education tweets because I follow a lot of the pardon me, the educators out there who are tweeting on a regular basis. And so far, I am just so grateful to them for giving teachers a voice, for giving students a voice and parents a voice. And I think it's so critical that we get this information out there so that people understand what's going on in education. So I'm going to pull up my Twitter feed and see what's happening. So first we have Brad Weinstein at Weinstein EDU. I didn't realize how much homework took away from family time and time for a kid to be a kid until my first child started having homework in kindergarten. Yeah, homework has become a bane. It hasn't become what it is designed to be. It's designed to be a way for students to continue learning on their own, to learn how to learn on their own, to be able to learn in different environments because a home environment is very different from a school environment. And it's meant to reinforce things that were talked about in class that day. All right, that's all it's supposed to be. But kids are getting hours and hours and hours of homework where they come home, they do their homework, they eat dinner, they do homework till they go to bed. No, that's too much. That's way too much. Kids spending hours on end on the weekends when they should be having time with their families and they're just logged down with all this homework. I noticed that when I taught high school. So what I started doing was adjusting my lesson plans so that the kids always had time to have a head start on their homework for my class. And if they got done with that, then they could use the remaining time to work on homework from other classes so that they wouldn't be bogged down at home and they would have that time with their family because families are busy between sports and activities and everything else. So it's not fair to them to load them down with homework. It's just not right. I agree with that. Nicholas Ferrani at Nicholas Ferrani or Ferroni. I apologize if I got it wrong, Nick. 10 things that need to change if you want teachers to stop quitting. Yeah, I can tell you the first thing: pay them what they're worth. My God, you know, in Colorado Springs, where I live, some teachers who are just out of college start at around 34,000 a year. That's ridiculous. They can do better being a manager at a McDonald's or even as a cashier at a Target. When those types of things are happening and you can get a job anywhere that's better than teaching, why would you teach? I mean, if it's your calling and you love it like I do, you know what you're getting yourself into. And I do know what I'm getting myself into. And I understand it. I don't agree with it, but I understand it. Um, but yeah, you've got to pay them what they're worth. Another thing you can do is get the parents more involved. Have them stop being friends to their children and become parents. Instill discipline in the classroom. Let teachers discipline their students. I'm not talking about punishment. I'm talking about teaching them how to be a disciplined individual. Okay. How to be a good student, a good studier. And those are things that every student needs to learn. So, those are some things I think we should do to stop teachers from quitting. And also, the admin needs to pay attention to them. When you do a survey with your uh, teachers, don't ignore the suggestions, don't ignore the results. Uh, a lot of schools do that just to make the teachers feel heard. But if you're not actually reading the results, then they're not being heard. You're just placating them. And believe me, they will only put up with that for so long. Okay. Representative Frederica Wilson at Rep Wilson. America is in a teacher shortage crisis. One solution: raise the minimum teacher salary to $60,000. Last week, I filed the American Teacher Act to do just that. And in a lot of places, that will be a very good salary. In some places, they already make that. Um, so it depends on cost of living, whether or not that's a good thing. For the most part, it will be a good thing. Places where they're already making that are like New York City, some places in California. But if you did a swath across the country, most teachers do not make that, even with master's degrees. So having that as a starting salary is a good point. Frankly, I think it should be 100,000, but that's just me. And not because I don't teach in public schools anymore. I teach college. So, but having spent a year in a high school, yeah, it should be 100. It should be 100 grand, no doubt. Excuse me. All right. So what else have we got going on in education? Let's see. One thing I can tell you is that my nephew has to go an extra semester to college because the um, advisors did not plan his degree out well. He has to wait through a summer where his classes aren't available and go an extra semester. So he's graduating 6 months later than he should. And that's 6 months of he could be looking for a job. That's 6 months he could be starting his career. It's really frustrating. Teacher to teacher at teacher to teacher. How do you kick off a new topic with your students? It depends on what it is for me. If it's grammar, I try to make light of it and say, okay, I've got all my colored expo markers out. Guess what time it is? Because I like to use colors to indicate parts of speech or dependent versus independent clauses and that kind of thing. So they always know when I get all the colors out, that's what's happening is we're going to do grammar. But if it's a lecture on something, I try to find an example in real life that is directly related to it so that they can see the correlation between the two. And sometimes I'll start with a video because sometimes that's the best way to get students interested in a topic. All right, let's see what else. Help a teacher. When a teacher wants to know if there are any questions, she doesn't mean any question. She wants to be asked about the things she's teaching. So if she's teaching you about Mexico, don't ask if Bubbles is a good name for a hamster. Thank you for that, Help a Teacher at Help a Teacher. Yeah, it's funny because a lot of times we can't even get kids to answer questions or ask questions. And so um, when students ask something that's completely off topic, it's frustrating. Um, Sometimes I'm able to roll it back into what we were discussing. So that's an option. If you can figure out a way to roll that question into what you're talking about, then it's a way to acknowledge their question without getting frustrated and angry, or use it to roll into the next subject. If a child asked me that, okay, is Bubbles a good name for a hamster? And I was just finishing a history lesson, getting ready to go into a science lesson, I would say, well, I don't know because bubbles burst. Do you know why they burst? And then roll right into that science. And it's a great way to, again, acknowledge the student, but keep everything education focused. Here we have from Teacher Goals at Teacher Goals. Some people don't understand that sitting in your own house in peace, eating snacks and minding your business is priceless. Teachers get that. And I actually think that customer service workers get this too. All right. Yeah. I did that for a long time. Business managers would get that. Okay. Let's see what else we got. And I really am just grateful for everyone who's tweeting with me and answering my tweets and pointing out the places where we disagree, because that kind of healthy debate is exactly what we need. Let's see what else we got. From The Blaze, at The Blaze, Stanford University releases list of quote unquote harmful language it plans to eliminate or replace, including American, he, and brave. I used to joke about Stanford being communist. Now I know it is. That is despicable, to say the least. It's just despicable. I got nothing else on that. All right. Leaders from Brad Johnson at Dr. Brad Johnson. You can't praise what you don't see. Be present with staff in classrooms, hallways, cafeteria, bus line, and when you are present, let know you acknowledge and let them know you acknowledge and appreciate their hard work. That's great. That is very much appreciated. But give them a raise too. Let's see what else we got. Teacher goals. It's okay to cheer for the kids who come in first, but make sure to stick around for those who finish last because they ran the race too. There's no reason to only acknowledge the success of the quote unquote winners. Okay? Acknowledge a completion. That is a success for some students. For me personally, I was a terrible runner when I was a kid. I don't know if I had bad running mechanics or it's just because I was overweight. But, we used to have to do the 600-meter run every year in gym. And I was always last, and everybody was laughing at me, and I hated it. And the teachers were always, well, we'll get you better by next year. And all that fake hope and encouragement did not help. So in my sophomore year, which was the last year I had to run the 600, I told myself no matter how much my legs burned, no matter how out of breath I was, no matter how much my feet hurt, I would not finish last, and I would finish it. I did. I did the entire thing. I never stopped. I never walked. I did the entire thing, and I actually beat several kids to the end. So when you have someone who has that issue of, for some reason physically or even mentally, they can't always be the winner, still they need praise. They need to know that you noticed that they accomplished something. When I did that, my gym teacher said, all right, way to go. I knew you could do it. Very encouraging. And that's something that's really important in schools for kids because they spend a lot of the day with their peers who are just sometimes can be so freaking cruel. And it's nice when adults are acknowledging things and making sure that those kids get the encouragement and the recognition that they deserve. From Education Next at Education Next. Education has finally gotten its turn in the spotlight. Schools have gotten a raft of media attention, though not the kind that those wonks imagined. I love that word, wonks. Yeah, the 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 use of masks, it's still happening in a lot of places, and it needs to stop. And there are, it's just my dogs, and there are there's the strike in California for the adjuncts and the grad students who are not making enough money. They're making poverty wages. So there's a lot of media attention right now in education, and that's where it needs to be. And hopefully the rest of the country will learn something from it. I appreciate you checking in. And this was just a really quick way to say, hey, Merry Christmas, or Happy Hanukkah, or Happy Ramadan, or Happy Kwanzaa, or Happy Festivus, whatever works for you. And just have a really great holiday. And I'll be back with episode 4 soon. Take care.
Sorry about that.
No, it's okay. I knew you'd